Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foul Ball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope that you're doing well because I'm doing phenomenally. Thank you very much. It's the 81st episode of the MFR podcast, and I thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that you're doing well because, it's the start of the week. It's Tuesday. Lots of stuff going on in the world. Lots of interesting takes and wars and all types of crap happening, but you're here. We're chilling. We're talking. What's up, Parrot Head? Yes, that's right. The infamous chair. The infamous chair work that I did. I challenge anyone to do a chair as well as I did. You can't find one, okay? I peaked. I hit the top. That's why I retired. That's why I left that industry, because you can't beat perfection. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? What's up, Abomination AJ? Hello, how are you, sir? I hope that you're doing well, buddy. It's good to see you. Boosh McFadden. Lots of news. Lots of good stuff. Yes. A lot of things to talk about. The world has been in tumult. I find myself drained, sort of in general, talking about current events all the time. It's like this constant treadmill. I find myself like browsing the news and then just getting locked in to like the news cycle and wondering if I should talk about that, if I have anything new to add. There's, I was talking with my buddy. I mean, if there seems to be just so many pop culture news commentary channels, it's an endless pit. It's kind of hard to like become like, to offer something in that sea of commentary. Everyone's got a fucking opinion, and a lot to say, but I don't know. That's what I'm doing here anyway. So let's get into it. Let's start this show. Definitely have like kind of a main story I want to talk about here. A few other things, fun shit. But one thing I want to talk about that I've noticed, and it seems to have affected me, not necessarily as a YouTuber, but just as someone who likes to use YouTube. There seems to be a lot of changes with this platform, and it's kind of been a hot topic over the past few days. I listened to Gary Nerdrotic had a stream about it last night, and damned if he didn't really talk about it. That was like the name of the stream, and I listened for like an hour and a half, and I was like, are you gonna get into this or what? But Red Letter Media did a video about it, and I saw Shadiversity just put out a video about it, and I started watching it because I'm still not entirely clear on what the hell is going on, but it does seem like something's going on. And I've noticed this, it feels like for a few weeks. So I listen to a lot of YouTube. It's like my number one streaming platform, not even close. I mean, nothing is even approaches it. I forget I have subscriptions. I'm like, oh, right, I have HBO. I forget, it's how rarely I use some of these services. Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of them. I just don't find myself there. However, on YouTube, I'm there literally every single day for hours. There's so much good stuff on YouTube. It's really democratized content, and like the barrier for entry has become, infinitely lower than it ever was. You used to have to like, be like in Hollywood or New York and be a part of like a news team or something and work your way through the entertainment industry. It's like, that was the only way you ever got to talk, speak your mind or hear opinions from people who weren't like the established like news media or entertainment sphere. And now it's just, with live streaming and YouTube uploads, I mean, it's anyone with a microphone. You don't even need to be on camera a lot of the times. So it's changed the landscape tremendously. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's moved discourse. It's changed the conversation about where we are and what politics is, and, opened up for history. It's a infinite ocean of just different people's points of view and knowledge, expertise, et cetera, et cetera. But it does feel like I've noticed over the past few weeks, I feel like my algorithm is like a mess. I feel like when I'm watching it, like I open up YouTube, I feel like I'm struggling to find the things that I want. Now, there's certain things that I listen to, The second I see it in my feed, bam, I pop it on. Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, the Boys Cast, stuff like that. The second it's up, I watch it immediately. So YouTube still knows that about me. But I just feel like if those aren't up and Sargon doesn't have a new video, it's like a flood of videos to like subjects. It would be I've been playing the game Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I highly recommend. There's all this controversy about it because you can be gay in it if you want. You can be gay lovers with Lord Capon, which is lame. I don't like when games do that, but that's pretty much it. The rest of the game I think is spectacular. There is some gay representation, but it's very subtle. And then there's like one guy from the Middle East that people had an issue with. I didn't notice anything in game. I understood their arguments though. Anyway, it's a fantastic game. So, if there's somewhere I'm stuck or I just want to hear like an analysis, right? Like I'll pop it onto YouTube just because I've been living in that world. And then the next day when you wake up, your entire feed is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And I'm like, no, like I don't know what that is. Like it's changed. The algorithm has really changed. It's like, I know that if you subscribe to certain channels and you don't really engage with their content all that much, they'll lower the recommendations. I understand that. That's totally cool. But there's like, it's like there's subscribers are some things I'm subscribed to that I don't see ever anymore. It's just kind of like, oh, I blew past it a few times. And it's like YouTube takes that as I never want to see it again, which I don't love, but whatever. It is what it is. But now it's like even the things that I would normally listen to are like my very well-tailored algorithm just seems to almost be useless. It's so heavily favored on what you last searched or what you've been searching recently or whatever channel you were just listening to. And then it opens up like a whole bunch of channels of stuff I've never seen, which, in a way is good because I think it is easy to like lose sight of the fact that every day on this platform, there's new YouTubers with really interesting, well-researched videos and essays and stuff to talk about that I think is totally worth your time. But at the same time, it's like, there's a certain familiarity that with people that I have, developed over listening to them for years. And that's, I want them to be heavily favored. I like that there's new content, but I don't, there's a certain level of confidence you have, right? When you've gotten to know a creator, you feel like, all right, I click on this, I'm going to have a pretty good chance of whatever they're talking about, I'm going to engage with, I'm going to respond to, or I'm going to listen to like a take or an opinion that, I feel like aligns with what I want to listen to in that moment. You don't have that with creators you don't know. You're taking a risk every single time. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's hard to get started on YouTube. It's one of the reasons to get a channel off the ground. It's a lot of work because it's like you have to earn the trust of people, and that's fair. I think that's totally reasonable. But now it's like that. It's, so many people are talking about how their views are just plummeting. I don't have that problem, but my views are never all that high up anyway. But that just seems to be like a thing that's going on right now. And it's just like, that's weird, right? Like, I think it's okay if you want to open the door for, a wider variety of creators. That's fine. But please, like, don't alienate the content that I already know I want to watch. Like, I already know I'm interested in. Please don't just extricate that. Because yesterday I was trying to, find the hardest lock in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Don't just get rid of everything I want to listen to now. I don't really understand that. It's so weird the way the YouTube algorithm interprets your behavior. It's like, oh, you passed over one video from a creator, that you've liked in the past. All right, we'll never recommend you him again. It's like, it's not him. It's like maybe that one subject I wasn't that interested in. It's so weird how they just like, no, we know, that's all we need to know. I don't really know. Boosh says, Matt, stop looking at naked anime titties, you weeb. I don't look at naked anime titties. I don't even look at like clothed anime shows. I find anime to be kind of tedious at times. I want to like it because people love it so much, and I find the worlds that they build absolutely fascinating. But I can't get over some of the things that they do and the way that they tell their stories. where they have that fight that lasts like 3 episodes and they're like, and I know it's a cliche, but it really is distracting. I got into that show Attack on Titan, and I thought it was really compelling for a while. And then after a while, you're like, all right, where are the Titans from already? Tell me. I'm bored with this dragging it out. Oh, there was a whole new faction. They've been here the whole time. You just didn't know. Were they? Click. Moving right along. Hello, Parrot Head. Piranha Pout. What's cracking? What's going on? Make it a liberal crybaby quit the net today, Papa. Lol. I think I'm pissing off MAGA more than liberals these days. Well, if you're pissing off MAGA, bro, you're not welcome here, dude. All right, this is right wing based corner of YouTube. That's what we do. That's what it is. Hello, Hook. What's up, angry NPC face? Love it. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Papa Cotton. I've been uncovering this sort of sect of. Maybe I should hold off on that. Do you have anything else to say about the YouTube thing? I don't know. I don't know if you guys have noticed anything. I'm curious to see, because I thought it was just me, and I didn't want to be one of those people who be like, the content isn't as well curated as I normally prefer. Like, I didn't want to bitch about something so negligible, but I've noticed it for a while, and I feel like it's affected the way I interact with YouTube. And then I hear all these creators talk about how, their numbers are way down because their videos aren't being shared or promoted. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't even know you put that out, which is weird if you're like a regular fan. And I know over the years they've had troubles with like, YouTube will just unsubscribe people. It's like, I've had people who like show up to like every stream I do and they're like, yeah, YouTube unsubscribed me. It's like, why? Like, they're clearly not a bot. Why would you do that? But anyway, I was just something I noticed that I thought was interesting. Hook says, if you're pissing off MIGA, you're doing it right. I think I'm gonna read between the lines there. But no, that's actually what I want to talk about. So I because of this new the gate being open to more YouTubers, I have found some new content creators. One guy, his name is Right Wing Collective. I invited him to come on the show, but he said he's not really doing podcasts right now, which I was like, rats. I would have liked to have talked to him, but I like his videos. The first video I saw of his was a video where he was basically breaking down the downfall of Jordan Peterson. And I thought that was a really interesting video because that's a guy that I really liked for a while. I thought was super fascinating and interesting and did a lot of good work. And I was probably hesitant to write him off for a while. He definitely did some things that I was like, not crazy about that at all. Like going to the Daily Wire. I was like, why are you doing that? I don't understand why you're doing that. And just kind of his like general persona online, it had really, his star had fallen. And I eventually accepted that, found this just on my algorithm, this kid was just talking about the kind of the fall of Jordan Peterson and broke the whole thing down. Really interesting. Like I found the video fascinating. And then I listened to a few of his other videos, and then another channel and another. There's this thing out there that I'm just learning about. I feel like I've heard like whispers of it, but it's called the Zoomer Right. Have you guys heard about this? The Zoomer Right. It's like a political movement of like, I guess like younger men, like in their 20s, but they're like it's a new right wing sort of collective, sort of consensus. And I'm still catching a little bit of whispers about it, but I'm very curious. And I think I'm going to do like a deep dive. I might do a video on it to see what this is all about. I'm very intrigued by this kind of, it seems like a complete rejection of all sort of classical liberal points of view on most things. And I'm like, and they seem to be united, and they seem to have like the same kind of point of view on a lot of different stuff. Much of it does have to do with the I in MIGA, which I think is a good thing. We are going to talk about that a little bit today. But I don't know. I find it curious. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, if you know anything about it, but I am very, very curious. Freudian slip there. Don't know what you're referring to. I'm based as hell. Wait, where did that guy? This fella. James Roddering. Hello, James. What's a culture war? I imagine you're being a tad ironic. But I guess a culture war would be two groups of people with vastly different sort of points of view sort of having it out via culture, whether that be movies or video games, Twitter, discourse, etc. I think we just sort of lived through a really dramatic culture war with basically all movie and entertainment just being crammed with really obnoxious, polarizing, shallow, poorly written left wing propaganda for a very long time. And I think we're I think the waters have receded. Not to say that the content's gotten any better. It hasn't. Um, but but yeah, that's gonna. I mean, that's. I think that would be the best summation of what a culture war is. Uh, oh wait, Hook is saying Zoomers are half gay, half Nazi. There is no middle. Well, I'm gonna do some research on the subject, and I'm gonna find out, Hook, and we're gonna be there. But to go back to Jameson Roddering's question, what is a culture war? Um, well, in comedy, I don't think there was an industry where it was more evident more early on. I think in film and television, we saw it for a long time. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I started doing this channel was to discuss such a thing. Um, because it was very upsetting. I'm a nerd, as you can see from all the stuff. Like the things I love, I really love them, and I rewatch them and obsess over them, and buy the merch, and I love the shit. It's the things that I love, and I found that they were one by one just being bam, 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 just taken out, and there seemed to be some sort of consensus that this was a good thing, that the new Star Wars was actually great, even though I sat there in the theater and just was like gritting my teeth through the entire fucking Mary Sue garbage, and it was property after property, project after project. I mean, most of you are all aware of this, but it was the reason why I was drawn to YouTube as a sort of a fan, like as a consumer of it, and then it was one of the reasons I joined, because it was like, I've got something to say about this. But I think with all that, it was a few years delayed, right? Because the turnaround on stuff like that is long. You need to write it, you need to shoot it, you need to edit it. That whole process takes literally years, years and years. So I think by the time all that started to come out, it was very evident. And like I said, it was a big part of the conversation. But with comedy was a lot easier to change and just get rid of, just to cut it off, because a special at most, for not at most, but typically for a comedian, a special being like a 1 hour film special that they would do on like HBO or Netflix or whatever. It takes about a year. It takes about a year for the comic to go on the road and do all the material and tighten it up, shoot it, edit it, put it out. It takes like roughly a year, 18 months, something like that. So in comedy, it was a lot quicker to turn around the culture. And I think that was so obvious so early. I feel like the 2010s was just like a wasteland in a lot of ways for comedy. I mean, I've talked on stream with people here, they're just like, oh, comedy's dead. And I have not never, but I have not been feeling that, because I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and that's where I get a lot of my comedy, from YouTube. And I just follow the comics, wherever they're put out the entertainment, that's where I go. That's where I find entertaining. But if you're not doing that, right, if that hasn't permeated your YouTube algorithm, you could be completely unaware of that. So if you're just looking at the mainstream comedy offerings, which like the 2010s just had an absolute wasteland of, you had like Hannah Gatsby was that was a big polarizing comedian, because she was put out there, and there are all these articles like, this is what comedy is now. And, it was just basically like some Australian lesbian talking about how she was raped. It's just like, doesn't really sound all that hilarious. And it wasn't. And then, just the whole, the Yas Queen girl boss comedy era was in full swing. And it was, it did appear that comedy was dead. It did appear that like we didn't have stand-up comedy. That would be a reasonable conclusion if you didn't know about the fact that there were so many other interesting comedians also working. They just weren't allowed they weren't allowed on the mainstream TV. Netflix wasn't giving them specials. It was, all about who was the most the blackest, brownest, wokest, queeniest comedian, guy, girl, whatever. And it forced out, if you're not like, even like woke white guys, I think had a rough time. But if you're not like, if you're a standard white guy comedian, you weren't getting airtime. You maybe went on like Jim Norton show on Sirius XM or something. But other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot of platforming, if you will, for comedy. Comedy was just not in the mainstream unless you're just the type who likes to like ha 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 ha. You like to clapter and listen to someone who parrots your political point of view, which I've never enjoyed. Even if you're parroting my political point of view, I'm not interested at all. Oh wait, hold on. What are you guys saying? The entertainment rebellion was part of this war was brilliant to see happening. It's the first time since the 70s there was an outright rejection of Marcusian communist subversion in culture. Well, that is so. In the meantime, while all this was happening, these comedians are still funny and they're still working. Whether or not you're getting a Comedy Central special or a Netflix special, it doesn't mean you're not getting stage time. I mean, there are so many comedy clubs and in the comedy hubs. Before Rogan started the one here in Austin, it was basically New York and LA. But even there's multiple shows every night and there's multiple stages. And if you're like even mildly funny, you're going to get some stage time, and you'll be able to work on your craft, which is what they did. And then kind of led by like Andrew Schultz, I think a big part of like this thing. The comedians took to the internet. And that is really where funny comedy moved to. It went off Comedy Central. It was off Netflix. You might consider Netflix the internet, but I don't. I think of it more as like a mainstream entertainment channel. I think of the internet more as YouTube, the kind of Wild West, where it's just sort of like it's anything. It's not necessarily polished, not necessarily good, but in between all of it is some great stuff. And that's where they went. Andrew Schultz started getting really good with like reels and clips and shorts and stuff like that. And then he led a lot of other comedians onto the internet. Let me read a few of your comments here. Shane snuck Lemaire into a Bud Light commercial. What up, Lemise? That's awesome. That's so fucking cool. Shane always brings his boys with him. I love that. Oof, Hannah Gatsby isn't funny. No, she is not. No, she is not. She is boring. Whatever. She does that kind of like European style comedy where it's kind of like I'm making jokes, but I'm really making a point. It's just like ugh. The whole Edinburgh Fringe Festival thing that they do. I don't get that. The English comics do that a lot. They'll do like 80% of like an interesting set, and then 20% we're gonna get serious. It's like, no, we're not. You're a comedian. Don't get serious. I don't want that. Hannah Gatsby is a comedy therapy session. Yeah, like a survivors group therapy session. I don't really understand. Clapter does indeed suck. You lost the testosterone war, buddy. Did I? All right. Well, I didn't know I was at war for my testosterone. It's disappointing to hear that I lost it. Feels pretty intact. You know what I mean? Because I fucked your mom. Oh, got him. So they all went to the internet. And case in point, I'd like to show you guys something. I didn't even realize this was this. I found this the other day. Well, recently. This is I'm a big Shane Gillis fan. I mentioned earlier. He he's probably the biggest comedian in the world right now. Look at this. I don't know if you guys can see this number here, right? The amount of views. This is a special uploaded 4 years ago. Has 46 million views. 46 million. That's a lot of views. I feel like I don't know, but I feel like that's probably more than most movies that have come out in the past 5 years. Maybe Endgame beats it, but 46 million views on this comedy special. That's insane. And also, if you see, wrong one. There's a fella named Andrew Schultz, who I was mentioning, 21 million views. That was 2 years ago. And he's got a crowd work special, 6.1 million views, so on and so forth. So the point being is that these comedians took to YouTube and were massively successful. Now, that doesn't mean that anything changed in the industry for a while, because it didn't. But it was impossible to ignore now. This is the type of thing that's just like, you can't look the other way. In the meantime, if you go to the Comedy Central website, which I was surprised that they even still had a website, to be completely honest. But if you go to the Comedy Central website and you look at what, and this was, mind you, Comedy Central in like the 90s, 2000s was the like comedy hub. That's where it all came from. If you look at what they have on their website, oh, South Park, okay. Beavis and Butthead, and The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, not Trevor Noah Daily Show, by the way. The old main host, and then a bunch of shit. Like, look at this stand up. This guy from all those like musicals, Al Madrigal. Okay, Ali Sadiq. Much respect. I like The Amazing Jonathan, but he's been dead for like 10 years. Amy Schumer, Anthony Jeselnik, Artie Lang, God love him, but it's been a while. Big J, but that's an older special. My point being is that anything that the actual comedy industry has done is like irrelevant. Comedy Central's desperately clinging on to all their old shows, like their big, South Park's their biggest hit, and it's like, I haven't found South Park funny in a long time. So when people are, the new episodes are just trashing Trump, and they're like, when did they lose their edge? It's like a while ago. Like, their COVID special was lame. It's been years, and I don't know why anyone's surprised by the fact that they're lame. Because it's like, yeah, the point was made that it's like, yeah, all those years they didn't touch Biden. Dementia ridden, babbling, brain dead Biden. Never touched it, huh? Never got anywhere near that one. A little too controversial for you, but Trump's got a little dick and he loves Satan. It's like, okay, cool, guys. So funny. Really, really, treading some new ground out there. Really blazing a trail. Fucking boring, but they've been boring for a long time. And it's now the last thing I'll mention is the show Kill Tony, which is like a podcast, if you will. It's more like I feel like it's more like not a game show, but variety show, more like a late night kind of show. It's not like a podcast where you're just hanging out having a conversation. It's very presentational. Basically, if you're unfamiliar, it's a show where Kill Tony with Tony Hinchcliffe has his partner Brian Redband, and then a few established comedian guests, and they do what's called bucket pulls, where they'll pull a random name out of the hat. And there's a bunch of like open micer kind of wannabe comedians waiting their turn to go up, do a minute, and, either get trashed or praised. And, basically what it does is it sort of gives like unknown comics an opportunity to be funny or to be humiliated. More times humiliated, but that's because comedy is very hard. But it also launches careers. It also puts people, into the stratosphere from complete obscurity to like relative fame. And that show went on Netflix. Like, Netflix eventually was like, all right, we'll pick it up. We'll put it on. Shane Gillis did a special on Netflix. I think Schultz did a special on Netflix. The point is here, folks, is that we've been living through this culture war for a long time. We've been living through the culture war of movies, of television, of stand-up comedy, of music. I mean, it's just like, it was infiltrated and just, infested with the woke mind virus. But it's a cliche talking point now, but the truth of the matter is it did happen. And, I don't like entertainment, movies and television have not come out the other side yet. Like I don't think they're as lame as they used to be, but they're not good. that Alien Earth show is an abomination. Like I did a review on my other channel, Foulball Food and Film and Television. Go take a look. It's doing pretty well if you're curious about my thoughts on that. And it's like they're still trying. Like, what was that show, The Savant, with Jessica Chastain, where they got the white woman, the middle-aged white woman who's patrolling the internet for right-wing extremists? You're like, oh boy, you guys are not reading the tea leaves at all, not getting the temperature of the room right in any way. But comedy has come all the way through, like I said, because the turnover in that industry is so much faster that now Comedy Central is they're not a company anymore. The only mainstream media company putting anything out there is Netflix, and they've had to completely come to the table. I mean, Tony Hinchcliffe has got his they do episodes on Netflix. They're hugely successful. Like I said, Shane Schultz, these other comedians back on Netflix when they were persona non grata. I mean, Shane Gillis was literally canceled, right? He went through a giant public humiliation ritual where he was, derided as a racist for saying some sort of Asian joke on his podcast years ago. When he got SNL, he went back and hosted SNL twice. And the industry has had no point but to basically accept the fact that, yeah, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And you can't just crush every guy because he's maybe a little controversial, maybe he says some edgy things, says some things that don't jibe with the most uptight communists in your little coven there. And if you want to make money on comedy, you're going to actually have to hire funny people. And I think it's pretty much when it comes to the culture war, it is the most glaring example of like a definitive win. In fact, just the other day, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Cam Patterson. I feel like you got to kind of be a little bit, follow comedy like maybe I do and Papa Cotton does. But there's a fella named Cam Patterson, black dude who stand-up comedian, very funny. He became famous from Kill Tony. That's how he got his start. That's how he got launched. He had a good minute. Got invited back and has, continued to deliver, played Madison Square Garden, did all this stuff, and is now a new cast member on SNL. Now, granted, I mean, I understand SNL hasn't been funny for, has it ever been funny? Is a better question. But it hasn't been funny for a long time, at least. And now a comedian that Tony Hinchcliffe launched from, racist, awful Tony Hinchcliffe, right? Who made a Puerto Rico joke and also, praise Donald Trump, right? That guy, that villain, that enemy of the people, Tony Hinchcliffe. Well, one of his proteges, one of the people he made, is now on the most high profile, even though culturally irrelevant, but high profile comedy shows there is. SNL, it's an American institution, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and now they got one of their guys, one of the Kill Tony mutants, one of those chuds, those alt-right chuds, is now on SNL. And I think the entire thing has come full circle. And if there's any kind of indication of like the health of culture, I would say that is such a brilliant, shining asterisk that I don't want to say it's over. I don't want to say like, pack up your things, boys. Everything's going to be gravy from here on out. But when it comes to comedy, we won, like completely undeniably. Funny won. People who enjoy funny stuff, people who aren't, politically obsessed and when in their entertainment, people who just want to enjoy stuff, just want to have a good time when they watch things, like won unanimously. Like not even close. Like, and when I'm talking about like, them going on the major networks, personally, I don't care whether they do or not. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the acknowledgement from the institutions, from the establishment. They have to look in the mirror and be like, okay, well, we're going to have to be humble, eat some crow, and hire these people that, we all wouldn't have touched, that, are despicable people. And it's like, well, now they do, because there's no one else, because these are the funny people. These are the people that, make comedy that you can't just woke your way into. You can't just, fat uninteresting woman your way into funny comedy. You just can't do it. You need killers. You need people who work at it and whose life is committed to it. And I think, like, if there's any reason to be hopeful, positive about the future, it is the health of the stand-up comedy industry. Because, I never felt like I lost comedy because, I was on the internet following these comedians forever. I didn't feel like I lost them. But we were in a culturally dangerous place. And now I think, fucking won. And the industry is not fucking happy about it. All right, let me see what you guys are saying real quick here. Reruns and daily shit. Yeah. I mean, that's literally all they have left. I kind of like the Daily Show, to be completely honest. I don't agree with the politics of it, but I find it entertaining. I like the Jon Stewart version. I like him. I don't watch any of the other people. I don't care. And I haven't watched a clip from the Daily Show in a while, but for a little while I was checking it out. Like, it was funny. He's cooked. He's one of these, like, politically cooked people that's like, it's impossible to listen to a guy like that when it's just like Trump, blah, 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 But every once in a while, I didn't mind it. But I mean, like South Park, I'll watch old South Park. I'll watch the first, 9 seasons or whatever. But I'm not into this new shit. Who cares? It's lame. Hello, Courtney. Good to see you. Rubenito. What's up, Rubenito? How you doing, buddy? Good evening, he says. As I have promised I think he meant to say my first book is done, and I have only just begun. It begins. Hail to the chat, to Luke, Matt, you're all right. I think I want to say, Ruben. Now, congratulations to you on finishing your book. But if you're coming out now branding yourself as an author, there's a lot of spelling issues in this chat here. I think you meant to say Matt, you are all right, or Matt, you apostrophe R-E, all right. And then my first book, not to mention and should be capitalized after the exclamation point. I'm just saying, if you're branding yourself as a writer, you might want to pay more attention to your grammar. But congratulations, Ruben. Is that what you sent me on Twitter? Oh, I didn't know what the hell you sent me. Well, you know what? We can promote Ruben for a moment. Why the hell not? Let's see. It's on Substack. Is that the deal? So is it available in stores, Rubenito? Let's see here. Oh, wrong button. There we go. All right. Dark Mary, the last geography of Mary Jane Kelly, a neo-Victorian true crime feature docu-gothic. Okay. Well, congratulations. Why is Dark Mark cut off here? What is that? Or Dark Mary cut off. And it's free to all. Is it now? Ain't that something? It is, actually. Let me see here. Free. Okay. Skip. Maybe later. All right, Rubenito. There's some content warnings here. It says themes include violence, historical atrocity, systemic corruption, grief, and psychological distress. Gothic imagery and occult language are employed as metaphor and critique. Reader discretion is advised, everyone. All right, well, go get Rubenito's new book, Dark Mary. I will put it in the chat. Link is in the chat, y'all. Go read Ruben's book. Rubenito, Cocktail Lounge veteran, all the years out there. Oh, congratulations. I mean, hey, it's not easy to finish a book. Whether it's good or not, you're going to have to leave up to your adoring public. But actually finishing the book, way to go. Way to go, bud. Absolutely. Yeah, Walt Whitman had problems too. Precisely, Hook. I mean, what's his name? Killed himself. Hemingway. And that guy's a genius. So It's okay to have internal demons, and you can still be a brilliant writer. Ain't that right, Ruben? Um, but yeah, back to the comedy thing. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was the whole Mark Maron. Mark Maron, pretty famous comedian, probably not like nationally famous, but if you pay attention to comedy, he's a name that you would have known. I mean, he had the biggest podcast in the country for a while with the WTF, and he went on a podcast tour. I mentioned it in a video I put out, but he went on a podcast tour, trashing the Austin comedy scene, and Joe Rogan as like this I don't know, who knows, it's just someone who's just like out of touch. He thinks that all these kind of right wing comedians, it's like, these guys, first of all, these guys are generally not even all that right wing. They're just not woke pussies. They're just not, there's not woke little bitch boys. I mean, that's not the same thing as being right wing, or alt right or whatever. But he basically like makes it out that they're comedians, or these comedians go up there and all they do is just trash trans people, which is such horseshit, by the way. Because like, say what you will about Tony Hinchcliffe and Kill Tony and blah, blah, blah. But if your concern is inclusion, he literally has the most inclusive show that has ever been. I mean, the parade of freaks that he has on that show is endless. I mean, there's, who's that woman who's like in the wheelchair, and there's like that guy who can't really talk, and he delivers everything like this. But there's one guy who literally can't talk. But they're funny, and they get stage time, and they're included and beloved by, all these racist alt-right fans, blah, blah, blah. They become part of like the cast of regulars. They're part of the Kill Tony crew, and people love them and applaud them, and he brings them to Madison Square Garden. You know what they don't do, though? They don't parrot bullshit, woke, left, fucking commie talking points. No, they don't do that. No. And they don't tell people to vote for Kamala. No, they don't do any of that, because really that's all you do care about. You don't care about the representation. You use the representation as a badge to display to the world how virtuous and what a terrific, amazing person you are, but you don't give a shit. If one of those people was like a fucking a stump for Tucker Carlson, you'd fucking send them packing. You send them packing back to wherever slum they came from. If they don't do your political bidding, then you fucking hate them. Well, that's the truth. The truth of the matter is, like, Tony doesn't actually give a shit about any of that. He's genuinely inclusive, and it's like, it's not even like you have to. There's this guy, Elephant Graveyard. He put out this video on YouTube, but it's like 2 hours, or it's like an hour. I think it's an hour or 2 hours long. It's a long video, and it has millions of views. And he tries to like paint this whole Austin comedy scene as like this incredibly like hierarchical, thing where you got to kiss the ring, and you got to fucking give hand jobs to like Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe. And I'm telling you, like, I have been around that scene quite a bit. It's not like that in the slightest. And B, it's like these people, it's like you've just never engaged with it. I feel, it's my opinion, I feel like you are just imagining like how it would go in your sort of like comical caricature in the way you want it to be, where everyone's just like, yeah, isn't Trump the best? Oh yeah, Trump's so the best. I don't know if I like Trump. Well, you can't do comedy in Austin then. It's not like that at all. Not even kinda. Hello, Pat S. Good to see you, sir. You can't read? Can you read it to me, Matt? I don't, I want to create incentive. I want to create urgency. So people should go to Ruben's Substack, and you should read it there. I feel like if I read it, then people won't go. And you need to have a sense of urgency with these things. You know what I mean? So you have to go check it out. Mark Maron vanished. Well, when once comedy became democratized, hey, look, Mark Maron's funny. He's a woke pussy, certainly. He's a little bitch, but he is funny. And I think, like, but once comedy got democratized, and you didn't have to have a lecture, you could just go there and be funny and say things you're not supposed to say. Once that became the situation, well, then people stopped choosing the guys who like have on Obama and just give him, an hour and a half of softball questions. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, I think I'd rather listen to someone else. I think I'd rather, find something interesting. Mark's too conservative for your taste. Yeah, absolutely. He's he doesn't want to abolish all private property and give all the money to the state. He's too conservative for me too. Absolutely. They're not right wing. They're just not Karl Marx. Yeah, exactly. They're just not foot soldiers for the left wing global takeover. They actually think some of that's bullshit. Hello, Zax. It is me indeed. How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Ruben does have a Substack. We were just talking about that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Who would name their kid Elephant Graveyard? Well, I feel like it was a self-appointed moniker. I feel like I wasn't named Foul Ball Productions, much as I feel this gentleman wasn't named Elephant Graveyard, but he had a little pussy thing. Brendan Schaub moved to Austin, so enjoy that. It's not like I have to hang out with Brendan Schaub now. It's not like there's 25 people here, and now Brendan's going to be one of them. The chances of me ever seeing that guy are probably pretty slim. I saw Brian Callen at the Creek in the Cave, which is the other kind of big comedy club in downtown Austin. Yikes. He fucking sucked. He was not funny. And I saw him like share the stage with some really, really funny people. And it was like, oof, boy, I did not care for that. I don't know how that does. Ruben, men should be reading books. That's true, Zach. Reading books is gay. Gay? What? What are you saying, Ruben? Dark Mary is best for upper high. You wrote this book for high school kids? Why? How many high school kids do you know? How are you going to get it in their hands? You should have wrote it for grumpy boomers. You know way more of them than you do high school kids, I hope. And adult readers, advanced 10th graders could read it with guidance. There's no graphic gore, but it tackles mature themes. Why'd you put this in quotes? Would your publicist write that? Like, do you have like a copywriter who like kind of gave like a quick summation? That's you. You wrote that. That's you dummy. Right. Okay. So yeah. So Mark Maron went on a podcast tour and he was being a fucking queef about it, and then there's an article that came out a few days ago. Tim Heidecker of Tim and Eric he really does not like Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe. So all that stuff that I was just pointing out, the whole like kind of history of like where the comedy industry has been, the old guard, none too pleased, because the thing is, the truth of the matter is that comedy is not centrally located. It definitely does come mostly out of New York and LA. Like that's kind of like where, you go to play in the pros, as it were. And there's like lots of scenes littered all over the country, but that's really, I mean, those like, if you're going to be a professional, that's really where it comes from. Until now, you have Austin, Texas now is like a big scene. I mean, I can't express to you guys how many fucking comedy venues there are here. I mean, there's two major clubs downtown. There's a third one that Red Band runs. It's not the best room, but he runs it and they do shows every night. And then there's a million open mics. And then up north, there's Cap City. And this is like a place. And now you're starting to see that like comedy can really it doesn't need to come out of, the industry towns, right? It can just sort of come out from wherever. And they don't like that because film and television is still going to come out of LA and New York, essentially. It's union controlled. That's where all the talent is. It's an extremely expensive endeavor. Whereas, anyone could do podcasting or stand up, it's relatively free. You know what I mean? And you can film a set, it's not that expensive. It's really not millions of dollars. And so it can just sort of come from anywhere. They're not, I don't think they're all too thrilled about that. I think they're like, wait a minute, we should have dominion over this industry and we should force our politics into it. We should filter out anyone who doesn't have our politics. Why don't people like our comedy? We used to be cool. Remember Tim and Eric? We were on TV. Remember the WTF podcast? I had the biggest podcast. And now it's all over. Cotton Ministries. Are the ceilings as high at the Sunset as they say they are? Yes. They're extremely high, which is uncomfortable. And it's a very awkward setup. Like, it's way, way too open for a comedy club. And then, like, the stage is like mushed off to the side. So there's all this like foot traffic to the side of you, which is very distracting. And like the comics walk, it's not a very good club. It's not yet anyway. And I've only seen a few shows there. Yeah, it's been okay. I should be AJ's agent. I would gladly represent AJ, Abomination AJ. I would easily. We'll make that kid a star. He's going to be a big shot under my tutelage. I'll get him in all the best open mic, shitty 6th Street bars, He'll be popping off in no time. No time. All right. What else? Oh, man. The only other stuff I had prepared was fucking really a bummer. I don't really want to talk about it. I was going to talk about Israel and their bombing of Qatar, but now I don't really know. I am. So the other YouTube channel that I do, Foulball Film and Television, my Alien Earth review is doing really well there. Almost 1,000 views. So if you haven't seen it, go over there and watch it, and you can maybe help boost the profile of it. See if we can get over that 1K views. And my subscriber count's going up over there. So I've been really enjoying it. And as I was saying, the pop culture conversations, they can get a little draining. I get a little tired of it sometimes, just the treadmill every day. It's just like, draining. But I can always talk about movies and TV. And I always have lots to say about that. And the next thing I'm working on a few things. I'm working on a big video about My Cousin Vinny, because I love that movie. That's to be praised. But the other thing I'm working on is about the movie Sinners. Did you guys see this movie? This movie came out earlier this year. Universally praised. Critical Drinker loved it. The critics loved it. The audience loved it. Everyone loved it. The only person I heard say a little something about it was Shane Gillis on a podcast. He was kind of making a little kind of sarcastic joke about the Irish vampires, kind of being the bad guys. And I wasn't really sure. About Zach's. Did you guys see the video of the Ukrainian chick stealing a black guy's knife with her neck on a train? I don't know how you couldn't see that video. That video has been absolutely everywhere. And I was going to talk about it, but I mean, I don't really have anything to add that hasn't been said. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And the media's silence is just deplorable. Not a word, not a peep. There's such scum, the media. That is someone I feel no pity or empathy towards at all. I hope all those buildings burn down. I fucking hate the media. There's just such pigs. Such absolute pigs. Not even mention it. Like I said, I don't even just everything that has been said about this, everything that can be said about this has been said. The coverage of George Floyd and Daniel Penny, and then this guy, and no one's talking about it. But anyway, I don't need to talk about that. What I want to talk about, another black guy, Ryan Coogler, is the movie Sinners. So I sat down to watch it a few weeks ago, with the highest of expectations, because it's, universally praised. I mean, everybody, you'd think that like, like anyone who I would have thought would have criticized it or tough critics, they seem to like it. So I was like, all right, I'll go check this movie out. I watched the whole thing. It fucking sucks. What the hell? How did that movie slip by and just get praised by the people who are supposed to take tough stances? I watched it and it's like, what is this? Like the first, let's say first half is quite good. And it's very beautiful. Like the cinematography is gorgeous. It takes place, I guess, like in Mississippi. Absolutely beautiful, like in the 30s. It's a clever concept too. But once the vampires show up, it is a mess. It's a mess of a movie. It's bad. It is fucking stupid. Like it takes such a nosedive. Once the actual subject of the movie shows up, once the actual thing that like is supposed to be that the whole marketing, the whole movie's about is this battle with the vampires. Once that begins, it fucking sucks. It's stupid. It's so dumb. I couldn't believe, like, when I was watching it, I was like, this is the brilliant movie, the universally well-received movie? Oh no, son. So I'm working on a video on Sinners. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because I think that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to dig my teeth into, sink my fangs into, huh? Because of vampires. You get it. You understand. You understand. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Wait, what are you guys talking about? Israel just returning munitions and they exploded? What are you people going on about? I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Well, anyway, Zach's being there. I guess I'll mention that I'm going to be on Zach's channel tomorrow. I think so. I hope I'm still invited, because I had to drop out last minute last week, but I was still doing those movie battles, so I should be there. And you're talking about prison shanking, so that's fun. That's good stuff. That's nice and wonderful. You know, sunshiny topics, sunshiny. Yeah, I guess the only other thing I have prepared is fucking Israel shit, and I just don't want to talk about it. I just don't want to talk about it. Oh, I will say this. This was okay, great. Thank you, Zach. So then I will be there. Then I will be there on Zach's channel tomorrow night talking movies. I won't bail this time. Hopefully nothing comes up last minute. But no, I should be there, and that should be super fun. I guess I will talk about this real quick. But so do you guys remember the whole Cracker Barrel thing? Well, I guess Cracker Barrel today announced that they're not gonna go with their modern look. They're going back to their classic look, the classic country store look of the Cracker Barrel, which was so funny because I was thinking about when that story came out, and I was just like, I don't think I've ever even been in a Cracker Barrel. Like, I remember seeing that, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then the country lost their minds, and I was like, I did not know this many people were this passionate about Cracker Barrel. Like, I could understand, but boy, I didn't personally care. I was just like, all right, I guess people are really passionate about Cracker Barrel. I had no idea. Whoa, new Coke strikes again. Absolutely. Yeah, this is Crystal Pepsi all over again, Man of War. I bet you didn't think I knew that reference. I do. I remember Crystal Pepsi. Yeah, what the fuck is a Cracker Barrel and without the cracker or the barrel? Yeah, no, totally makes perfect sense. But like, I never had that much passion attached to Cracker Barrel. So I was just like kind of confused, you know, like that meme of like the monkey like looking like back and forth. I was like, oh, like I don't even know where there is a Cracker Barrel. Like I don't know where the nearest Cracker Barrel to me is. And I feel like I live in a pretty cracker part of the country. There should be some Cracker Barrels nearby. I mean, there's a Waffle House in my city. There's no Cracker Barrels? I don't know. I haven't been in one in so long. Boosh, Cracker Barrel ruined the staff, then the food, now the look. They started to reverse it. Now get good employees and better food. Yeah, change your entire business, but not in the way I don't like. Only in the way I like. Yeah. Why are people angry about restaurants' logo? I guess more people frequent Cracker Barrel than I was aware of. I didn't know. I had no idea. Cotton Ministries has got a hot take here. No one actually gives a shit. It was manufactured distraction. Maybe it was a manufactured distraction. Maybe it was all to keep our eyes away from the wars or the Epstein files. Hey, get upset about this. But people were pretty upset. It was a pretty universal rejection. People were not into it at all. Small time. If you've never been to a Cracker Barrel, you'd be perfect for their marketing team. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, oh, all right. Hook 2023 was a CEO change. Have a look at her and explain why it went to shit. Oh no, I've been aware of the story. I know all the ups and downs, the nuances. I know all about it, but I just didn't know people were so passionate about Cracker Barrel. That's the thing. I didn't have any convictions one way or the other. Like I said, I don't think I've ever even been in a Cracker Barrel, but people, I guess a lot of other people did. A lot of other people did. Courtney, we have 3 Waffle Houses. I live in a weird place, and I've never been to a Waffle House. I've never been to a Waffle House either. In fact, the Waffle House that is in my city, that is nearby me, is the famous Waffle House with the blonde girl who took on all the black girls, and they throw the chair and she caught it. That's the Austin Waffle House, and I haven't even visited that holy site. I don't really care. I don't really care all that much. Same with American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney. That was another one. I think I did a stream when that story broke, and I think I called it the controversy. I was like, this isn't a story. This isn't a controversy. And then everyone continued to lose their mind. They really latched on to the genes thing. Oh, she's got good genes. Oh, you're going to say a pretty blonde girl has good genes? Like, yeah. Then they're like, it's Nazi propaganda. You're like, what? From who? Like, I love this conspiracy theory that there's just all these secret Nazis. There's all these secret white supremacists in this country, and they all have some clique. They're all in some group, and they're secretly pushing this forward. And it's just I don't think the secret group are Nazis, guys. I think they might be the opposite. I think the secret group is sort of anti-Nazi. If we're gonna fucking be honest about who's behind the scenes pulling the strings, I don't think it's the Nazis. Used to go all the time. The country store was great. All right, maybe it's time I step into a Cracker Barrel. I mean, it is the hottest store in America right now. It is the hottest store in America. Boosh, I didn't grow up around Cracker Barrel. It was a road trip thing, family vacations. That's what I feel like, yeah, it's just sort of like a rest stop type spot. But people were passionate about it. Passionate about the Cracker Barrels. Sydney. That's funny, Hook. Sydney Sweeney. That's funny. Cotton Ministries, never mind. Don't pay attention to letting compromised pedos run the government. Maybe that could be. I don't really know. Tugs raid. Oh, I'm flattered. Thank you, guys. That's so nice. I was actually running out of steam. I was actually going to wrap it up pretty soon because I didn't have anything else prepared except to trash Israel because they bombed Qatar and then all these apartment buildings. And it was just like, oh, whoopsie. It was just Hamas was using that apartment building. That's all it was. I know how it looks on video. I know it looks like we just leveled an apartment building full of civilians, but no, it was there was Hamas operating out of there. Oh, okay, all right. Well, good stuff. And then the one thing, okay, I will talk about this because there was an atrocity that came out of there that I did want to talk about, and it was pretty upsetting to be completely honest. I mean, yeah, I know, like. I like to make jokes and stuff, but if we can be serious, it's like there's just certain things that just happen in a war that are, it's just unforgivable. And one of the things, it just happened, this news broke earlier today, and it's just like when I saw this, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like I can't read that and feel good about this. So, I just want to give you guys just a little bit of a warning. They're out in the sea, outside of Gaza in Israel. Greta Thunberg's flotilla was not hit by a drone. What the fuck? What the hell? Of all the good things that could have come out of this war, You didn't hit her flotilla with a drone? God damn it. Why? Why, God? Why? Oh, so upsetting. You had such a perfect chance, missed it by this much. Uh, oh. Boosh says, I figured Greta's people started the fire. They did, actually, but not in the way you think, in an absolute retarded way. So this guy here, he fired a flare gun, but fired it wrong. He didn't know how to use a flare, and it just dropped onto his boat. Like a fucking idiot. Yeah, this is his flare. What a fucking retard. What a retard. But that makes sense. I mean, right? Like, that's the type of man who would be on this float, right? Yeah, Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg. I guess, you know what also is a good thing we can take out of this? I guess they cured global warming. Because I haven't heard Greta Thunberg talk about global warming in months. So I guess, guys, we're out of the clear on that one. I guess we're fine. I was under the impression that the entire country was going to be underwater. Coasts were going to be destroyed. Pittsburgh was going to be coastal property. I guess we're okay. Because Greta Thunberg is very obsessed with the Palestinians. So, we didn't get to see this boat go up in flames, which, would have been cool. We didn't get to see that. But we do get to know that global warming's over. So, there's silver linings to absolutely everything. Greta Thunberg. Yeah, it's close. All right, folks. I think that's going to do it for me today. I don't really have all that much to talk about today, and I'm sorry to cut it short, but I'm poorly prepared. But no, I appreciate you guys watching very much. Thank you for hanging out with me on this episode of the MFR podcast. Like I said, please go over to the Foul Ball Film and Television channel to go watch, check out the Alien Earth review if you want. There's a video about Layer Cake and The Expanse. And I've got some other stuff coming out. I've got the My Cousin Vinny video down the pike. Sinners, going to trash that, get into why that's fucking stupid. And make sure you check out Dave Smith, idiot, Sax's channel. Tomorrow, just reading that on who I'm gonna send the raid over to. But we're not sending it to Dave Smith, but I was just reading my Who's Live. But yeah, go check out Zach's channel tomorrow. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to have like a little bit of a movie battle. And it's going to be pretty fun. And I'm actually going to try to send you guys to like a real channel today because I am stupid and bad at YouTubing, but we're going to send you over to the Dualies. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out. And I'll see you all next week. Keep it out for new stuff. All right. Ta-ta. Later. Bye-bye-bye.